Greetings, everyone. I am Rah Kalon, emotional intelligence consultant, transformation coach, and your inner child's fairy godparent. And you need to tune in to my episode of Boss Talks on the Rooftop.
What's up, everybody? What's up? I'm Bryson Fowler. This is Boss Talks on the Rooftop, Season 4. Thank you. Like, subscribe, share. Today I have the greatest honor and pleasure of introducing Miss Rah Kalon. How are you doing, Miss Kalon?
I am so well, and I'm so excited to be here with you. You have
Really?
no idea. Yes!
Really?
Absolutely.
Up in this great big old world?
Yeah.
Nice. So, I heard that you deal with a lot of like feelings, emotions, and just all around like being, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I am an emotional intelligence consultant, and what that involves is helping people understand how their feelings impact what they think, which impacts what they do. And a lot of times people don't like their behavior, but they don't take the time to backtrack and follow the breadcrumb trail to what they were thinking, which came from what they were feeling. And that's what I help with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds real deep.
It is.
That sounds real deep.
The rabbit hole goes real deep here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So give me a moment. We just got Deception Spirits in.
Yeah.
So we're gonna partake into this. So guys, if you haven't had a chance, check out Deception Spirits. It's a whiskey, honey flavored, and we're gonna pour it up. And thank you for blessing us, blessing the show with it. So go ahead, tap it a little bit.
Yeah, tap it.
Tell me when, because I got a heavy hand.
When?
All right. So while we're into it, I'm gonna light up a cigar, and I want you to tell me more about how we get more involved with knowing more about our emotions and how you can help us out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me borrow that from you.
So it all starts in childhood, right? And as people of color, we don't often get to go back and to critique childhood.
Right.
We might talk shit about it, but we don't actually go back and recognize what impacted us in a lot of ways.
Right.
Because it's like, well, it's back there, so what can I do about it? The wild thing is, Bryson, it's not in the past, though. It's in your present. It shows up when you go to work.
Right. Dealing with a lot of childhood triggers that we've never gotten over.
Yep.
Didn't know that was there. So I said trigger. Now that's like an emotional like key word for people.
Yeah, like it's a landmine.
Yeah, it seems like that's really popular now. It's like, hey, it's one of my triggers. Like, you've been in counseling, huh?
You've been to therapy? Yeah.
You've been on therapy. Yeah. So they're like, yeah, it was my triggers. But like, how do we get out of the fad of using these terminologies and really getting our culture to understand what these words really mean? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So like, you hear a lot of people like, oh, he's a narcissist, or is triggered, or
codependency,
stuff like that. They throw these words out there, but not really understanding the true meaning behind it and what the impact is of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that's because people are identifying with these words, and really all of us want to be understood. So when you find language that makes you feel understood, you might not dive deeper into it to really get a full perspective of what that is. So when you hear words like trigger, yeah, it might mean that they went to therapy, or they might have watched enough YouTube episodes of Brene Brown to have found out what a trigger was. But trigger, I want to redefine as communication between you and you. Because when a trigger comes up, it's pointing to something that you get to work on.
Right.
Not something that needs to be completely stayed away from, but something that you need to understand better about yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we recognize what we need to work on?
By the things that make you feel in ways that don't benefit you. So if you're experiencing emotions that a lot of us will just classify as, that's how I am, I'm just like that, deal with it.
Right.
Those are all choices. You just haven't recognized that you have the ability to go in and choose different feelings.
Right.
Because the emotional trauma or the pain that you experience shifted the way your brain is wired to feel like, this is who I am now. But that's just the identity you chose to survive.
Right.
And if you're still living in survival mode, that's where we have to start unpacking.
That part. I love that you said that. Survival mode.
Survival mode.
So like when we get into survival mode, it's like, you know, we're not talking about, oh, well, did I eat today and I got to put $5 worth of gas in the tank. We're talking about survival mode is like, okay, I'm in danger mentally, emotionally, and I need to abandon ship. I need to abandon this relationship instead of actually working on it and trying to make sure that we manifest something greater.
Absolutely. And survival mode was a beautiful instinct to have back when we were being chased by mountain lions, back when we were, you know, hunting and gathering all the time. But you still have a lot of the same brain wiring of your caveman and cavewoman ancestors. And because of that, when you get an email that upsets you, you turn into fight, flight, or freeze mode.
Right.
When you get into a small altercation in traffic, you want to fight, fly, or freeze.
Right.
And none of these things actually require that level of energy.
Right.
But because we haven't experienced true survival, or at least a lot of us haven't had to experience true survival, we still categorize it as worth putting the cortisol levels, getting our energy all tied up, and we're knocking our bodies out of alignment. And when we continue to knock our body out of alignment chemically, it starts to think that that's normal. So when you go to do things like meditate, it's like, no, we need to be vigilant. We need to be on the lookout because something's coming. And there's nothing coming for you. Nothing that you're not creating yourself.
Right. Oh, that's deep. I like that.
Can we cheers to that? Toast. Yes.
Toast to that. Because like a lot of times, I can speak for myself. I can only imagine from the point of view of a black woman, but as a black man, we're so programmed to like really not engage in our feelings or engage in emotional intelligence. What we know is anger.
Yeah.
We know we're angry.
Yes.
We're not entirely sure why we're angry.
Yes.
We know that, hey, we got to overcome this. We just haven't dealt with, okay, this is what's causing me to be angry.
Yeah, the catalyst.
Right? But there's so much on the spectrum of emotions that we haven't even touched.
Yeah.
Like the black man doesn't even really understand true happiness. So what's happiness really look like inwardly? Because we know what society says, like you have a chain, you got a car, a good crib, a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
You should be happy.
Yeah.
Right? You got status. That's happiness for you, right? But inwardly, are you truly happy? Are you not thinking about suicidal thoughts? Are you not taking it in and being depressed? And when you look at everything that you got or you've obtained and still feeling like you need more and still feeling empty inside.
Yeah.
So that emotional intelligence is something that we really, really need in our community. Absolutely. And so I think you can help us grow on that. So what's your take on that spot for as far as your observation of the black man in our community?
The black man has been limited to only accessing anger as an emotion that he can publicly show. And that is something that has been detrimental to our community of black people and of people of color in general. Anger is a beautiful emotion. There's nothing wrong with anger. But just like anything, it has to be done in moderation.
Right.
Let's be real, though. The black man has had plenty of things to be angry about. The black people, as a community, have had plenty of things to be angry about. So much so that we don't actually get to grieve or be angry about one thing at a time. It's all accumulated grief. It's all accumulated anger.
Right.
It's generational trauma on top of generational trauma. You have your granddaddy's anger. You have your daddy's anger. And they didn't talk to you about why they're angry, so you don't know a lot of why you're angry. You just know you feel it.
Right.
And that's a part of your epigenetics. It's wired into you in some instances. So sometimes when you're angry, you might genuinely not know why. But the beautiful thing is that if we can get to a point where the black man can pause, just have some time to himself to start to process, what do I want to feel? Not based off what society has told me, but what I am recognizing there is a need that's unmet within me. And sometimes the needs that are unmet within black men are very vulnerable, like nurture, like gentleness, like kindness. And what black man do you hear walking out saying, I need kindness, I need gentleness, but you need nurture and to be tended to. And that doesn't make it any less solid of a man who needs that. But those are the things that make powerful people powerful because they have a balance.
What's amazing is that how you rolled into my next thing without even really walking into it is because like the black man says, doesn't know he needs nurturing, but we know we need nurturing. And the sad part of it is like we're looked at as, okay, we're trying to get it from the black woman in our community, right?
Yeah.
And the black woman is so masculine in our community because they're hardened by the survival mode of what is missing in their lives. If they don't have a father, or the father figure wasn't there, or he lacked in what he was missing in, and so it's going into that cycle.
Yes.
And so the black man is looking for nurturing from his spouse, his black woman, his queen, and he's getting met with masculinity. And so we see a lot of aggression within our community, within our spouse, instead of a calm and welcoming environment. So how do we in turn, what the trend is now saying, have the woman living her soft life, getting into her soft life? How do we help get her out of that masculinity? Like, look, baby, you don't need that anymore. That's me. This is you over here. The soft life over here is you. The masculinity is me. So I need you to ebb and flow in that capacity. So how do we go about in encouraging that mode for our black woman? Or
I
women,
think
period.
If women could see black men treat themselves with kindness and compassion and nurture and accountability, we might start to trust them to do that with us too. It's the consistency. Men want us to submit, they want us to be soft and nurturing, but a place has not been created for us to be that. And if you were to create that place with the idea of, okay, now I've made it soft for you, be nice and soft to me, that's conditional love, isn't it? I did this, so you'll do this. But if you create that environment where it's safe and it's soft so that you can enjoy it for yourself, and then you invite me into something you were already enjoying for yourself and you let me become a part of it, there's not pressure, there's not expectation. And now we get to grow together and define for ourselves, what is this going to look like for our household, and not just repeat the trauma of our past.
So how do you go about combating expectations with setting a standard? Because there's a standard that needs to be set, and I expect you to meet that standard, right? So, and then for you turn around and tell me, hey, that's your expectation. Well, that's the standard that I have set for you of what I want in my emotional life. So now we're talking about, okay, the accountability, right? And you said something about consistency. And a lot of people don't understand what consistency is. And consistency to me is committing to a frequency that you can hold over time.
I like that.
You know? How many times can you say I love you and mean it in a day? How many times can you rub my back unconditionally and tell me it's going to be okay? That's going to be conducive for you. Authentic. And not cost you anything mentally. Right? And so when you say consistency, I really like how you pointed on that, because now it's, okay, now we're setting a consistency. Now we're talking about setting a standard. Right? And so it's human nature for us to expect you to meet the standard. Now, the black woman wants the man to be set to a standard, and you expect me to meet that. Or you expect us to meet that, more I should say, right? So when you say not to have that expectations, how do we do that?
I think the balance comes from if your standard or your expectations are coming from a lot of unmet needs. So if you are coming from, I didn't get this growing up, so you damn sure better show up with it, and this is why I have this expectation, you are already approaching it from a lack mindset. And so you're looking for me to fail in some instances because you already have experienced what failure in this category looks like. You're not familiar with getting your needs met. But if we're coming from a place of this is the expectation and the standard because this is how I provide for me, so I know what it feels like to have this need met. I'm not desperate. I'm inviting you into this space. Then I think that's how we start to align with and attract partners who are on that same frequency. And if they're not, and they can't not meet you where you're at in that frequency, because I like the word frequency more than standard or expectation. Those are trigger words, right? But if they can meet you on that frequency, then we can grow together. And if they can't, then I can amicably let you go. Make room for who can meet me there.
Fair. That's very fair. So, when you go into setting your space, how do you go about setting your space? Like, give us some tools, some techniques on how we should set our space.
So I spend a lot of time talking to me because I think it's more important to become very familiar with the voices in your head before you start engaging other people on their thoughts and opinions.
You know, part of the belief is that you're crazy when you start talking to yourself.
That's what black people think. That's what black people say.
But I always tell people I'm the best person to talk to.
I have my best conversations with me. And I do answer myself. I do.
Yeah.
With the full awareness that, yes, these are all different aspects of my thought process.
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes I have to say it out loud and be like, that's really what you think of me? So that I can correct it.
Right.
If I'm keeping all this pent up in my head, that's when you really start feeling crazy. But if you actually can vocalize it or journal it and get it out of you and then look at it objectively, it gives you a chance not to identify with it.
Right.
And so on a daily basis, I start my day in by calling myself in. I get in the mirror and I remind myself what and who I am, who I be. And then I spend about an hour sitting in silence. And a lot of black people are like, I ain't got time for that. You need time for that.
You gotta make time.
You gotta make time for that.
Yeah.
I'll be truthful. White people will say, oh yeah, I meditate for 10 to 15 minutes. For white people trauma, 10 to 15 minutes might be fine. For black people trauma, we need much more than that.
Like an hour.
We need about an hour to sit still and to be all right with ourselves. So that when a couple of days, you might need to go up to a mountaintop. You might need to disappear for a bit.
Just a little bit,
Just a little bit. But by the time you are out of that meditation, out of that, what I like to call sitting with yourself, you are ready to give and you're clear on you giving to yourself first. So anything else I offer to someone in the day, I had it to give.
Right.
I'm not out of anything. And when I need to go home and recharge, I do.
Right.
But I prioritize me in a way that I find very selfless because selfish is not what I'm worried about. Once my cup is full, I take care of people beautifully.
Right.
But when it's empty, oh, I'm desperate.
Yeah. Ain't got nothing to give.
Ain't got nothing to give.
So you're just a taker at that point.
Or a conditional giver, and then I get bitter because you're not giving me what I gave.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
And I think that's what hurts a lot of black women. We're really depleted and we're really tired, but we've only had models and examples of other black women who gave even when they were tired, even when they didn't have anything. So we feel weak if we don't keep giving, but we haven't learned the beauty of being selfish for ourselves and recognizing that our hearts are to give. So when I am full, I will give, but I need to take time to pour into me first.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we find you?
So you can reach me at RahKalon, that's RahKalon on Instagram. My website is RahKalon.com. And if you're in the Dallas area, you definitely need to come to an event that I host called Conscious Conversations.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a monthly event. It'll be October 20th is the next one at For the Culture Studios.
So how you hold it monthly? Is it like on the third Saturday every
Typically
night?
the third Friday. It'll be the third Thursday in October, but it'll be typically third Fridays.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we got a book coming out or?
Yeah, there is a sit with yourself journal because a lot of people are like, okay, so you sit with yourself for an hour. What does that look like? What do you do? So I'm giving a memoir of what exactly that looks like and what do you do in that time frame to make it the most effective, as well as just some tips over to make sure you don't get mean on yourself over doing it wrong. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, so those are the best ways to find me, but I love connecting. That's why I love being here with you.
Absolutely. So it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, remember, storms don't last, but your home should. I'm Bryson Fowler. This is Boss Talks on the Rooftop. Thanks for tuning in. Peace. Two fingers. You know I gotta do it. Come on. Stay in it, Lush.
3.
Be serious.
2.
All over again, and I wasn't gonna end the conversation, to be honest.
You were getting free therapy services.
Hey, man.
Black man's over